Hello, I'm Mystic Orange and this is video hashtag 656. And wow, this channel has hit 600 subscribers. Thank you for those who have supported me to reach this subscriber milestone. Right now is the 20th August of 2025. I started this channel at 2022. So it really has been like about 2 or 3 years since I first started this YouTube channel. And now we're here with 600 subscribers. And since we hit the 600 subscribers, I asked you guys to ask me some questions. Not many of you came through with the questions, but at least one of you, got to ask me some questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer the ones who asked me these questions, but I'm also going to answer some questions that was delivered to another YouTuber called Winx. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer the questions that Winx got for their 10k AMA celebration. So whatever question that Winx got, I'm going to answer. And it's possible Winx might get questions related to TV shows and other things. So what I'm going to do is tailor this to my channel. So if she gets a question about, I don't know, Ruby, I'm going to tailor it to the shows that I've covered. So that being Winx Club, Scooby Doo, and 16. I will try to link Winx's video in my descriptions so you can check her AMA out. Just so you know, AMA is short for Ask Me Anything. So I'm going to group some of these questions together with different tiers. And I'm going to start off with the gold tier questions. These are the questions that you asked me in the YouTube comment sections. Only one of you have came forth with these questions, and I would like to thank that person for asking me these questions. I think you might know who you are. I would like to say thank you for your help. I don't want to name the people who are, referenced in my videos, who aren't YouTubers, because I understand what that is like, I don't want to put anyone on the spot because, I get it. If I was put on the spot like this, I'm going to be feeling uncomfortable about it. So, I like to keep the people who ask me these questions anonymous. So the first question is, what is your favorite music? And I will try to answer this one. For me, I really don't have a favorite music. To be honest, I will like anything that's gets to be put on. And it really depends on the vibe and things like that. When it comes to animated music videos or when people make these AMVs, I tend to appreciate the music that they choose. Although I would have to say I do have favorite bands that I always listen to. This one band is called The Saturdays. It's a girl group with 5 members. I do like listening to their songs. Some of my favorite songs from The Saturdays are Ego, What About Us, and Work. The second question is, what is your favorite Taco Bell item? If I had to be honest, I've never been to Taco Bell, so I can't give you a direct answer. And I don't think I've ever had a taco before. I wish I did. It seems like a fun idea to have. I probably had it one time in school. I imagine it's tortilla shell. I have had Dorito crisps. So what are they're kind of like tortilla chips. So I have had those before. I also have had like other Mexican food like burritos. In the UK we have Greg's, and I think they do sell like things like burritos. I do like to have like Korean barbecue, from Greg's. So even though I can't fully answer this question of like what I can order from Taco Bell, I hope there was answer there anyway. Um, just to give you an idea what sort of food I like. I do like Korean barbecue. I like barbecue. I like chicken tikka. I like sweet chili or chicken tandoori. So if we did have Taco Bell, and you can imagine like what sort of vibe I would have for like Taco Bell. I honestly don't know what they sell in Taco Bell. So here's the ideas. So the last of these gold tier questions, the third question is, what is your favorite video game? I would like to say, like, before I go to bed, I do like to play, video games. It's a perfect way to recharge and, practice your mental skills. And it's fun thing to do. So what I like doing is playing, offline games. There's this app called Offline Games, and they will have like a bunch of other games which you can play, offline. I will link this app, in the description. But I really recommend it. It's a good way to waste time. So some of my favorite games that's on there is like Spider Solitaire or Spider Rat. So I do like playing card games on my phone. I also like playing checkers and chess on offline games. I do like a little bit of a challenge, but also not too hard or not too easy. I also like playing a game called Sudoku. That is also something I like playing on my phone. I like any games that challenges my mind. While I'm on my bed, it's pretty satisfying. Then we have a silver tier questions. These are sort of questions that Black Cherry asked Twins Inc. While Twins Inc. got the Ruby questions, I'm gonna tailor these questions to the shows I've covered. So that's Winx Club, Scooby Doo, and 16. Just so you know, in this channel, I've only covered the first 4 seasons of Winx Club. For Scooby Doo, I've covered from Scooby Doo, Where Are You, to the 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo. And for 16, I'm only covering the first season of 16 in this channel so far. So I just wanted to clarify that before I enter these questions. So the fourth question is, do you have any Winx Club character that they should kill off? It's funny because, I'm now in season 4, and I'm in the season where Nabu gets killed off. I think for Winx Club, I don't mind if a character gets killed off. In Winx Club, death does happen. Like, Nabu gets killed off. Misa's mother got, killed off. And I think for Winx Club, death is important for realism. I do think, if the, Winx Club writers were more intelligent, they would handle death more, better. Because I think, when they killed off Nabu, it wasn't intelligent, it wasn't smart. Like, Nabu is the only canon character who gets killed off in the show. No one else in the show gets killed off. At least not like a good person. I mean, we kind of, assume, a villain gets killed off, like Lord Darkar, or maybe Valtor and the Ancestral Witches, but never like a realistic, protagonistic type of character, or like someone with, good intentions. At least someone who isn't a villain, Like if we had to have like a character dying, we should have had it happen in like other seasons. So if a character had to die in season 4, I would have liked it if we had seen it in like season 1, 2, and 3. So if now we had to die, we should have seen someone dying in the previous seasons. So it doesn't feel like death isn't done out of nowhere. Like death isn't just shown just for obligatory reasons. Like just to show, yeah, the show can be mature by including death. But we should have seen death happening in, like later seasons. Although I can see, like, there are dark moments in Winx Club where it's indicated, like, some characters have died off screen. The one thing that I'm thinking about is, in season 2, where there's that one episode, it's where it shows, like, one of the Pixie possibly died off screen. I'm not gonna lie, that was dark. Including death anyway in a show is going to be dark anyway. So at the start of Winx Club, we should acknowledge that Winx Club is a dark show. Like it should be expected that Winx Club should include death, if it's needed, because it's an action based cartoon. We're going to have death for realism. So that being said, if I had to think of characters who I think should have like shown, being killed off, I do have like ideas of which characters I think should have been killed off. And you need to think of this of a pinch of salt. So if I suggest any of these characters, don't get offended. Let me know in the comments, which characters you think should have been killed off. For season 1, I do think we should have seen characters getting killed off. Like in that whole arc, towards the end of, season 1, when we had Army of Decay, we should have seen body counts from all that damage from the army. Like we have shown, like this army is very terrifying, and it will cause that damage. So why on their body counts of like specialists, fairies, or witches? Like it doesn't have to be the main characters. It could have been like minor characters who we don't know about getting killed off. So also there could be important characters who gets killed off by this. And sadly, the one character that I can think of that could have been killed off from this army is not the ogre. Either that way, or Bloom could have killed Not off, for once and forever when he invaded, Bloom's home with the Tricks. Remember when Tricks, tried to take Bloom's Dragonfire? At this point, you should have shown like Bloom's last stance with Not, and he should have been killed off then and there. I just think that would have been a little bit more realistic of the scenario. Like one last stance, Bloom finishes off Not before the Tricks take away her Dragonfire. That should have shown some like stakes. Or if we're gonna show that Not is being redeemed, we can see like he's doing his best job in helping his friends in this time of war, and I think it will be really tragic, a bit more emotional if we see like something tragic happening to Not by the Army of Decay. And maybe we could have seen Not as one of the legacy characters, because I think Not makes significant role in season 1. In the later seasons, he just becomes the Althea janitor. He barely makes much of an impact in the later seasons. Like in season 2, we see him like interact with Layla, but like only for like a cameo or whatever. He barely makes that speaking role. And in season 3, we only see like one episode of him flirting with Stella. So that's the reason why I think, like, from Winx Club, I think Nut should have been killed off. So in conclusion, for Winx Club, I think Nut the Ogre should have been killed off. So anyway, this follows up to the first questions. Who from Scooby Doo he would want to be killed off? So this is kind of similar to the Winx Club question, however, it's tailored towards Scooby Doo. I personally think no one from Scooby Doo should have been killed off, at least from the shows I've covered. I am aware like death does happen in like a character in the future. It does happen in Mystery Incorporated, where I think this one lady gets killed off. It is a dark scene. But for most part, I think Scooby Doo is supposed to be a light-hearted show. So I don't think a death would be, appropriate. However, we can like showcase like some of these villains having like one of their crimes being like they kill someone in the past. Because most of these villains, the things they have done is like usually like stealing money or something. If we're going to have realism in Scooby Doo, it will be, appropriate to have, them kill someone in the past. At least, I don't think any of the main characters or side characters of Scooby Doo should be killed off. Because I think they are TV icon characters. I don't think, killing them off will be, will be wise. So overall, I think none of the Scooby Doo characters should be killed off. And then this follows up to the sixth question. Who from 16 would you want to be killed off? So we had this question for Winx Club and for Scooby Doo, and now for 16. And for 16, this is completely different. I think out of the three, 16 is the most lighthearted, the least dark of them all. The only character I think that gets killed off is G's Goldfish, and he's barely a character, he's just a prop. And I don't think any death would have been, appropriate, because I think 16 is trying to mimic real life. I think it's trying to mimic like sitcoms, like Friends, and I don't think anyone in Friends gets killed off. The main thing about shows like 16 and Friends is the humor. We may have, drama or whatever, but I don't think we're gonna have things like death. Because I think having death, will, make things a bit more somber, which isn't what the shows like 16 and Friends are going for. They want things to make, be light-hearted and fun. They really want the positive reaction from the audience. They don't want the audience to have like negative thoughts or dark thoughts from the shows they are presenting. But it is important to know that 16 will have like adult things in their show. Like it's they will present things like pregnancy or sometimes they will have like, adult inappropriate things like sexual things. But I think that also plays into like the light-hearted stuff. Like some of these adult themes are kind of like a bit more optimistic side. So in that essence, I don't think anyone from 16 will be appropriate to be killed off. So in conclusion, I think not from Winx Club should be killed off. I don't think anyone from Scooby Doo or 16 should be killed off. Let me know what you think in the comments. Who do you think should be killed off? Black Cherry also asked Twinsic about any Ruby songs that she would wish for Volume 8 or Season 8. Obviously, this is a Ruby question, but we can tailor this to a Winx Club, Scooby Doo, and a 16 question. And this opens up like a bunch of questions for these shows. So this leads up to the seventh question in this video. which is what is your favorite song from Winx Club? And I'm gonna think about how I'm gonna answer this question. So far, I'm up to season 4 of reviewing the show, and I think from each dub and each seasons, Winx Club has many songs in the show. So I think I'm gonna break down these questions by dividing by different seasons and dub. I'm gonna start the seventh question by saying what's my favorite song from the Focus dub. I think that's a better idea. Because Focus dub has their own collection of songs, which I do think are quite iconic. They have all of my favorite songs that I find memorable. However, my ultimate favorite from the Focus dub, it has to be Mean Girls Rule. This is basically the official villain song of Winx Club. Like, there's no other villain song from the show. Like, this song was made for the tricks, and I think it's just a classic. And this leads up to the eighth question: what is my favorite song from the Raid-Up from season 1 to 3? And this is kind of a personal one. I like the song that You're Not Alone from season 3. It's where Timmy is thinking about Tekna. And the song is really emotional. He thinks really deeply about Tekna, and they have this imagination about Tekna and Timmy. And this song really feels like a tribute to Tekna. And then we have the ninth question: what is my favorite song from the movies? Well, this is only gonna apply to the first movie since I only covered that one in my season 3 review. So from the movie, my favorite song is the outro. It's called All the Magic, and I like the singer's voice in this song. And the song, it doesn't state Winx Club anywhere in the song, and it still feels like a Winx Club song. What I dislike of most of these recent songs from Winx Club is that they will include the word Winx Club in the lyrics, and I tend to not enjoy that. It's like they have to let you know that yes, this is a Winx Club song, buy our merch or whatever. What I like about other shows like My Little Pony, they will not include the name of the title of the show in the songs. They're not going to include My Little Pony in their songs. And with all this magic, all the magic, I really like the voice of the singer, and the lyrics sound really whimsical. I can imagine celebrity singers, singing this song and doing a good job at it. Particularly, I think Lady Antebellum, who sang Need You Now, would fit well in the songs. Honestly, all the songs from the first movie, I think she would do a nice job at it. I think she would fit the vibe of the first movie. And lastly, what's my favorite songs from season 4? So going through the list, this might be a surprising one for you guys. It's called the You're the One That I Want. I know this is cheesy, but I like cheesy songs, and I just love this song. It makes me think of boy band songs, and this is the song that was sung by the Specialist, and I just love all the cheese factor by this. And yes, I'm that person, who will stand this song. I don't care what you think. It reminds me of songs that, songs would like One Direction would sing, or The Vamps, or The Wanted, or, other boy bands like BTS. So I can imagine being a total fan about this song from The Specialist. And the lyrics are really cheesy. I don't think I can't see the reason why you'd be upset by this song. If you're the person who's upset by the song, I know this is subjective, but I think you got to loosen up a bit. I think you got to enjoy yourself in these cheesy moments. And the people who don't enjoy these songs, cheesy songs, they are the most miserable type of people I can think of. So that was my 10th question. What my favorite song is from Winx Club season 4. And I think the 11th question is going to be our bonus question. So Black Cherry did ask, like, what would Twins Inc. want for season 8 in terms of songs? And it makes me think of the Winx Club and the fact that we're getting a reboot. And I'm going to tailor this question to the 11th question. What would I want for this new reboot for the songs? And this is the time like Winx Club and Rainbow needs to take some lessons, and any show really. But Winx Club in particular, if they're going to do like new songs from Winx Club, they need to stop including the word Winx Club in every song, and don't make the songs really generic either. I think for me personally, the best songs were from like season one, two, three for both Focus and Radiob because none of those songs included the word Winx Club and they didn't. They weren't all generic. And I feel like songs of those songs tailor to the moments in the episodes that they were in. Like Mean Girls Rules, you can tell this was tailored to, the tricks. And, Misa had her own concert songs from both Ray and Fockers, and they were both tailored towards her in her concert. And, in the Ray dub, they had songs tailored towards, Techno and her tribute. Then you have songs like a Princess. Obviously, this is, focused on Bloom trying to learn to be a princess while she's training, with Layla and Stella in the library. Like, why can't the songs from Winx Club can't be like that? So, that's one of my hopes for, like, if they're gonna plan a reboot for Winx Club, that is what they need to focus on. Like, have songs tailored to the episode they are basing this off. But really, this is my full opinion. I think Winx Club and any other shows need to stop doing reboots. Shows like Winx Club do not need a reboot. I think the reason why we get reboots is because the showrunners really want the money and they want the cheap way to bring back old fans to, like their shows or whatever. At this point, Winx Club has been really zombified, and we really don't need that many seasons or movies or other things like the Fate the Winx saga. This is too much for the Winx Club universe. I personally think 3 seasons was enough. Like the movie is also acceptable. Like the things after season 4 onwards felt like unnecessary. Like if we're gonna have those, I think if they were like their own thing, like a spin-off or from a different show, or like if Rainbow tried creating a whole new show basing off of season 4 onwards, that could have been really great. So no more reboots, please. Like let Winx Club have its break, for like a year or 10 years or so. And now I would like to tailor these questions to Scooby Doo. So the 12th question will be, what is my favorite song from Scooby Doo? And we need to think about this. So far, I've covered Scooby Doo, Where Are You? To the 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo. I will say that chasing music doesn't really become a thing until like What's New Scooby Doo. Maybe there were chasing music in the like previous seasons, but I have to be honest with you, I don't remember any of them, and I'm just basing this on top of my head. And if there were like some celebrity guest stars singing, I probably wouldn't remember. I think the new Scooby Doo movies should have guest stars singing, songs. But I have to be honest, like I don't remember any songs. I'm pretty sure Jerry Reed sang a song in one episode, but I don't remember his song. However, I can just tweak this to the theme songs of Scooby Doo, which I might like. For me, I personally like the ones with lyrics in. And my favorite theme song of Scooby Doo, it has to be Scooby Doo, Where Are You? It's original, it's classic, it's hype. And the original song of like Scooby Doo, Where Are You? Is perfect song for like a Halloween. So if this wasn't like related to Scooby Doo, it might be related to Halloween. It's perfect to put on at that time. So if you had to tell me, like, based on the answers and questions, what my favorite song would be from Scooby Doo at this point, it has to be Scooby Doo Where Are You theme song. And I'm also gonna have question 13 also be tailored to Scooby Doo. So question 13 would be any songs that I would want for future Scooby Doo series or seasons. I do need to think about like if they're gonna do another Scooby Doo seasons, don't do a Velma, please. Like no one asked for this. I think Scooby Doo did just fine, having shows like What's New Scooby Doo, Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated, and Beacon Scooby Doo. I think those are pretty much like classic. And all of those, shows had decent songs in the, chase music. I suggest if they're gonna plan on doing a new series for Scooby Doo, look at those seasons because they do have iconic songs in those seasons. And make sure the theme song has lyrics in. I think the classic, Scooby Doo theme songs are usually ones with lyrics in. So that's like, Scooby Doo, Where Are You? The new Scooby Doo movies, uh, What's New Scooby Doo? And also the Scooby Doo show. Those had like really good theme songs and with lyrics in. Like you would want a theme song that you can, sing along to. So those are my suggestions for like if they're gonna plan on like having a new Scooby Doo series, go for that route. And while you're at it, if you're planning on like doing Scooby Doo, lay off the pop culture stuff. Like the Velma thing, like it just wasn't. No one asked for these crazy pop culture things. Like this makes me think of like when they were trying to do like an iCarly reboot and they add in like bunch of references like from pop culture and it doesn't stick. I think I'm looking back at iCarly. I think the reason why pop culture references were, but really good, during the original series is because I think the pop culture stuff was like ingrained with the show writers and the showrunners. I assume like the showrunners were much more younger at that age, so they would understand the pop culture things. But now I don't think at this point they would understand the like references. And I don't think they understand the audience who watched iCarly growing up, or the audience who are watching iCarly now. So that's needs to be said. And finally, I'm gonna tailor these questions to 16. So this leads to the question 14. What's my favorite song from 16? Note that I only covered the first season of 16 and I'm only up to like episode 18. And let me just think about the song from 16 first. I mean, you got, 16's main theme song. You got songs that Wire sang. such as Lady Luck. And you got songs that were played by certain, bandmates such as Dog Toy and Mighty Weasels. However, that one episode, Idle Time at the Mall, had like bunch of selection of songs. You've had songs played by different characters, including the main character, as well as characters like Julie and Ron the Rent Cop. And Wyatt had two songs played by him on that episode. So out of all of those songs, which one would I consider being my favorite? I think out of all those songs, my favorite song has to be Wyatt's song about his friends, the angry version. I can understand why the judges like that song. Not only, Wyatt is showing his like emotions with this song, like you can really feel his anger. I think the voice actor really does a good job singing while he's angry. And not only that, I think, Wyatt sings about his friends individually. Usually, when it comes to his normal songs, I usually don't like his voice. It really sounds like high pitched. And with his original version, I don't really like that version because he only talks about his friends collectively, and some of the things he says about his friends is rather generic. So why not have a nice song about your friends? Talking about them individually. So in conclusion, I think Wyatt's song called My Friends, the angry version, is probably my favorite song from 16. And a good honorable mention should be like Ron's song from the same episode. I thought that was really hilarious. And honestly, I think someone should make a playlist of like the songs from 16 because I can't find them anywhere in YouTube. Someone give 16 a justice. Like there's barely any material in YouTube about 16. Like people can do this for total drama. Why not do this for 16? And now I'm gonna have the 15th question tailored to 16. And that question will be like any songs that I would want for like a future 16 reboot or something. And we do need to think about this as well. Like, I personally think 16, as well as other shows, should not have a reboot. I think the showrunners do a really bad job at rebooting shows. The most reboots barely does a good job at keeping the integrity intact. It kind of ruins the integrity of the original show. This goes with like any series or spin-offs or whenever there's like a part two of a show. And it's been a long time since we had like our 16th season. At this point, I think the writers will be out of touch with the 16. I can't say though, like with Total Drama, they did do a Total Drama vlog or vlog, whatever, and I did like that. The two seasons. I think it did a good job at connecting to the original 6 seasons from Total Drama. And I think it's the same writers who wrote, those seasons. So somewhat I kind of like be hopeful, like they might do a decent job at making 16 seem better. But they did have that one special. When we had the 16 characters discussing politics and things like that, and they have Jonesy voting for Donald Trump. I mean, I don't like to get political in my channel, but the show does that for me. So if they're gonna do Return 16, please don't do this. And my idea of if they're gonna return 16 back to us, I was thinking if they were like doing calling it 18 and then having like new set of characters. And we can get like an adventure with those characters. Or maybe we can see what it's like, with these 16 characters growing up a bit. Because I imagine, like, with the 16 characters, they were in their high school years. And I assume, like, at this point, the characters should, show us what it's like being in college. I mean, we have had, episodes where, like, Wyatt is in high school and he's concerned about, like, his, girlfriend being, like, in college and being 2 years older. But we would like to see what that's like for the main, characters. I mean, you got Nikki over here. She is like also like 16 years old, and she's kind of bratty towards her coworkers who are possibly like 2 years older, and they are probably in college. It's just something to think about. And if we're going to have songs from 16, I would say give Wyatt some vocal lessons because sometimes I don't like most of the songs that he sings. I'm not a fan of his high pitched voice. I think that song about his friends, the angry version, is an exception because he really shows his angry persona. Maybe why you should sing a bit more angry songs. Maybe not because I think in future seasons he does sing angry songs, but I also don't like them either. Maybe don't let Wyatt sing at all. Maybe that's the best decision. Let me know what you think. What songs do you wish for 16 if they did like return it back to us? And I think, I would have to give the showrunner some credit. Like, these are the same creators who wrote Total Drama and 16. And I think they do a good job of, trying to keep this 16 more relevant. Having shows like Total Drama Rama and having, characters like Jude appear in one of those episodes, shows. And I think that's a good thing. And I think this is more towards the audience. I'm gonna be straight with you. I think 16 is a much more superior show to Total Drama. I know this is subjective, but that's what I think. I think the writing in 16 is much more better. I think there's a bit more thought out to them than Total Drama. I just think, people should give it a chance. And I think, Total Drama, I don't think that show needs a reboot or whatever. It definitely does not need like a toddler version of itself. But maybe 16 could have had that. Like instead of Total Drama Rama, we could have had like 16 Total Drama Rama or whatever you call it. I think originally the Total Drama Rama, like the original title of the show was Total Drama Daycare, and I think 16 Daycare would have been okay. I think that's the only way we can make 16 a bit more relevant. And I think I would appreciate that. Yes, people are gonna, have negative feelings about this. I think people had negative feelings about Total Drama Rama, and they, still thought about Total Drama. They're going to have negative feeling towards like 16 daycare. I would, prefer having that because if people have negative feelings about this, they will, think about the original show a bit more and understand the integrity of the original show, and they would appreciate it more. I just wish people appreciated the original series. And like I said, I would want a community based on the 16. Like, there aren't that many people, who produce 16 media. I do wish the fandom of 16 was bigger than like total drama. Like people still make AMVs of the characters of Total Drama, but I mean I've only seen like a couple for 16. But the people who make AMVs for 16, like they were made like 15 years ago or whatever, like when the show was still running. However, like with Total Drama, even though like the show like isn't like even when total drama isn't like relevant, the people still make AMVs out of it, which makes me think like people don't appreciate the original show of 16 a bit more. And I think I would highly recommend 16 to other people because it's a lot of fun to watch. And yes, I am biased. I will defend my favorite show from my childhood. Uh, there's no question about that. I will do it. Because I think 16 deserved a lot more. And the fans who grew up watching 16, they deserved more as well. And the people who wrote 16, I think they all deserve more. I think 16 is a masterpiece that can't be replicated ever again. So yeah, that's my conclusion. You go watch 16. And then Black Cherry asked Twinsic one last question, which will round off the silver tier questions. They asked Twinsic, how much Rose Garden is too much Rose Garden. So what? That's the question they asked Twinsic. Rose Garden is a ship from Ruby. It's the ship between Ruby and Oscar. And I think we can tailor this to Winx Club, Scooby Doo, and 16. And this leads to the question 16. What do you think of the ships in Winx Club? And this gives me a lot of things to think about. The answers I can share with you guys about the ships in Winx Club. Well, I will mention the canon ships, between the main six girls and their boyfriends. We're in up to season 4 by now, and I do have my opinions. I will state the ships that I do like. I like the ships between Timmy and Tekna. They're my favorite. I am biased, but I really like the pairing, especially the moment where like Timmy, really helped find Tekna. Also, that time in the Tekna's charm episode, like she really broke down and saw what Timmy can do. Their relationship is really great. And then you have the other ships between like Layla and Nabu. I think they did a great job of developing Layla and Nabu. It's a shame that they killed off Nabu. I think that's just a total miss on that part. They should not have killed Nabu. Like, I think that, affects racially about what they have done. Like, they killed off the only, like, the dark skinned character of the, main specialist. And allegedly, like the black girl of the group loses her boyfriend. And not only that, like their relationship was really good. It's one of the healthiest relationships that happened in season 4. Why kill Nabil off? Damages could have been, like undone. And why don't now? Why haven't we ever have him return in like later seasons? There was a moment in season 4, like I think Morgana said, he will return to a Winx Club. I can't see that happening at this point. Stop promising things that won't happen. And I also like the relationship with Flora and Helia. I think they're sweet, they're quite romantic. I wish we got to see more of them. Like, I like the blossoming relationship in season two, and I wish, we got to see more from them, like in season three. Like, I wish Helia was a bit more present, but their relationship is really sweet. I don't find their relationship problematic. And like the relationship in season four, they're also sweet with each other. They have had healthy relationships. And then you had Stella and Brandon's relationship. I think from season one to three, Stella and Brandon's relationship was like one of the greatest relationships ever. I really enjoyed, all the romantic banters between each other. They're all like really loving to each other. So I like them too. However, I don't know what they did for season four. They just added obligatory drama, and they just like regressed Stella so much. And honestly, Stella did so many out of character things in season four. Like this is what like Stella would do with Brandon. Like, is it hard to have a normal relationship? And then we have the other, relationships. I think between Bloom and Sky, I think at times, yes, they do have good moments together. I do have like moments where like Bloom and Sky can be cute together, especially in like season one to three. Whenever they're dating, there are always good moments with them. However, there are moments with Blue and Sky where they add like a little bit of drama, like something has to be done with some way or another. Like I think every time like when there's like season two, the first opening, like something is happening. Like apparently like Sky was in a canoe trip with Diaspro. Apparently there was a canoe trip but no canoodling. Like there's a drama there. And then the season three, like the first, uh, the first episode, there's something going on there as well. Apparently, Blue and Sky had a big fight before they had a break or something. And the situation with Sky's name being changed and whatever, and him two timing Bloom and Diaspro, I think I think that kind of tanks the relationship. And they're one of the relationships in season four that does annoy me because they also have this drama between them. There's always a drama between Bloom and Sky, and it's not fun, especially when you're considering like they're the main characters and we're supposed to think like they're supposed to be the perfect couple, but they're like nowhere near the perfect couple. And I get it, like, a relationship, like, it's not always going to be perfect, but, like, Blue and Sky is, like, far from it. I can see, like, are trying with Blue and Sky, but it's not always, it doesn't fall through. And with Misa and Riven, does it even count as a relationship? Oh my god. I think Misa and Riven, like, this is a relationship that should have some, like, um, because I don't think it works in either side. Because I don't think Riven is listening to Misa, and I don't think Misa is listening to Riven. I think there's always butting heads with each other. I think in season one, Misa had a crush on Riven, but I don't think Riven ever had a crush on Misa. I think for the most part, like Riven was under a spell, and Darcy and Riven had a thing for each other. Like Riven didn't even know like Misa was into him. I don't think. And I think Riven and Misa really became a thing in season two. I think. But I don't think like Musa ever like outwardly say like that she's into Riven. I think Musa had this conversation with Brandon in the Wildlands. Like he's like Brandon asked Musa, like, have you ever told Riven you liked him? And I think this is where the relationship starts. I mean, they did have the cute moments where, like, Misa and did kiss Riven in the finale. But they also had so many bumps on the roads, like Misa getting offended because Riven commented on her hat. And I think Riven also like doesn't really put much effort into the relationship. He's not like emotionally available for Misa. But also, like, Misa also gives Riven the hard time. Like that time when, Riven tried to help Misa out with the motorbike. It depends on which dub you're asking. In Raid dub, I think Misa's more of a problem. And I think in the Farkas dub, Riven is more of a problem. And we get to season 4. I mean, we're not onto that episode yet from season 4, but we're going to get there. And yeah, we get like a whole huge kind of worms with Misa and Riven. Overall, I think the relationship with the Winx and the specialists could be done better if the writers, done better job at, working with them. Like, I think Timmy and Tekna is the healthiest because I think the writers don't really care about them. So that, that's just my perspective. Like, my thought is like, the writers need to care about Timmy and Tekna more. They need to like stop killing Nabu and return him back. If they're gonna do a reboot, have Nabu stay forever. Don't do anything. Um, Give Helios some, backbone. Let him, do something. Don't leave him out in season 3 or whatever. Don't regress Stella. Don't add obligatory drama between Blue and Sky. And, don't make Misa and Riven the toxic relationship. Make them listen to each other. So those are my thoughts on like the ships in Winx Club. And now the 17th question is, what do I think of the ships in Scooby Doo? And based on the the shows I covered in Scooby Doo, I don't think shipping is much of a thing. We don't really see the characters actually developing relationship with each other. At least not canonically. And I think in the future, we do see characters ending up with each other, like in, Scooby Doo Incorporated. Like, we have, Fred and Daphne ending up together, and Velma and Shaggy. And I haven't seen Velma, but apparently the relationship's there too. But even before then, uh, like in the early days, like not many people seen shipping in the shows. I personally think Warner Brothers doesn't know much how to do like relationships in the show. I don't think that's their strength. I think the main focus of Scooby Doo is the mystery solving skills. I don't think they think a lot about the relationships or developing characters connections with each other. However, I think fans can have a lot to say about some ships that that they can think of out of their heads, out of the relationships in earlier seasons or the later seasons when we see them. For the first ship that I want to talk about is Fred and Daphne. I think this is pretty easy, ship to like parent to go together. Like Fred is a pretty boy, Daphne is a pretty girl. And we can totally see like the reasons why Fred and Daphne might be, an easy pair. And they do, kind of have a relationship in Mr. Incorporated. But I personally, don't like the relationship in Mystery Incorporated because I don't think Warner Brothers knows, what to do. Because, in that show, Fred is obsessed with, traps or whatever. It's very weird, and I don't think Warner Brothers are like intelligent enough for having deep things like relationship, or at least the Scooby Doo writers. I don't know who handled Scooby Doo, but I don't think they're good at that stuff. I mean, mystery solving skills, that's their strengths. But to be honest, I do think like the relationship with Daphne and Fred can be cute. Although some people might think, their relationship can be bland as well. And then you have Velma and Shaggy as a pairing, and I can see the reason why you might ship them. Like Fred and Daphne, they're like the cool kids at the table. Velma and Shaggy would be the latter of the two. Like Velma is, a geeky, nerdy girl, and compared to Daphne, she would be considered like less than Daphne. And Shaggy, he's kind of scruffy. He's kind of like not the cool guy in comparison to Fred. So he's gonna be seen as less than Fred. And I think between Velma and Shaggy, I think they have a better relationship with each other. At least how you imagine they would be. Because, like, Velma is the brainy one and Shaggy is kind of dumb. But pairing them together, it's a fun dynamic duo. I personally, did not like the relationship in like Mystery Incorporated again because I think, Warner Brothers or the writers of Scooby Doo don't know how to do romantic subplots. And in that show, like Velma kind of, is really mean to Shaggy all the time, and she's jealous of Shaggy for being with Scooby all the time. I mean, like Velma needs to chill out. Like Scooby and Shaggy are like, they're both like together from day one. Velma, like, yeah, I don't like when she's like overly jealous about that. I love Mystery Incorporated, but the relationship aspect of that show isn't my favorite moment. And it needs to be said that like Fred and Daphne is considered as like a standard pairing, and Velma and Shaggy are also considered as standard pairing. But this does make you think like other pairings that might work. Some people might like Fred and Velma together because they are both intelligent. And some people might find that Shaggy and Daphne might be good together because considering that the shows focusing so far, like they had two shows with how Velma and Fred and Shaggy and Daphne spend time with each other, kind of like a couple, don't you think? Right now, I'm covering the 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo, and Fred and Velma are nowhere to be seen, so it's just Shaggy and Daphne. At this point, you kind of have to ship them to you because it's kind of like a relationship between them. It's like a married couple or whatever. It's like, a boyfriend, girlfriend with pet dogs and looking after this one kid. And also, people, heavily ship Velma and Daphne, and I get it. I think Velma and Daphne pairing is like really strong because I think that first of all, the personalities are well meshed together. Because Daphne is all about the looks and beauty, and then Velma is all about the brains. And I think the show does a lot of. I think the Scooby Doo franchise does a lot of like putting Daphne and Velma together a lot, and it's fun to see them, interacting with each other. I personally, however, don't see the point with Shaggy and Fred. I think their relationship together will be really awkward because I think Fred and Shaggy are so different from each other. Like I can see like Velma and Shaggy, yes, they're different. They're opposites. They're supposed to be the smart guy, smart girl, and the dumb boy. However, with Fred and Shaggy, it's a different scenario. I think Fred is like the cool guy, he's pretty serious, and Shaggy is like doesn't like the authority figure. I don't think he would like Freddy being all that serious all the time. And I think Freddy, he's all about cars or other things. His mind to like mainstream boy things. And I don't think he's gonna be too cool for Shaggy. So I think like they are way too away from each other's leagues. Like Freddy is at the cool kids table, and Shaggy is that type of person who like will be away from that. So overall, I think the one that I can't see happening is Shaggy and Fred, because I think their personalities are so different from each other. At this point, they are strangers to each other. I think Fred will see like Shaggy as this weirdo. That's just my perspective. And now the 18th question is tailored to 16. So question 18, what do I think of the ships in 16? I think compared to Scooby Doo, 16 has more ships for the show. In fact, you have characters going on many dates, not just with their main, casts. Like Caitlyn has a bunch of boyfriends in every episode. Josie, ends up with Nikki, but she also had like lots of, girlfriends. Jen also had like a bunch of boyfriends. Wyatt had girlfriends like Serena and Marlo, and Jude had girlfriends like Star. But I think for this question for 16, I'm gonna focus this for the main cast. Like, what do I think with the shifts between each other? Well, we do have one main canon, relationship with the car cast, and that's between Jonesy and Nikki. They romantically get together in the first season, I think. No, I think I think their relationship really develops in the second season. In the like that finale of season two, I think it's where like they have this a snow ball or whatever, and Jonesy asks Nikki out for the dance thing. So really, that's where the relationship really begins. But we do have the moments before that where we can see, there are some moments. For the most part, I think compared to Jonesy and Jen, they're less toxic. I think with Jonesy and Nikki, it can be weird between them. It's like a messy relationship. I can't say that it's like completely toxic. Sometimes it can be like sweet. Sometimes it's not as bad as like some relationships in other shows. Like not as bad as like Misa and Riven in Winx Club or Jade and Beck in Victorious. I think the best way to sum up Nikki and Josie's relationship, I just think it's weird. I mean, they do have their own bumps in the road with their relationship. It's it's kind of dramatic. I think in my channel, as soon as I get to the more episodes or about 16, I get to talk about the relationship a bit more. I mean, I don't completely hate it. There are other ships in the show that the show kind of teases us, like especially with Kayla with another boy in the cast, and that's like usually Jude or Wyatt. I mean, there was an incident where like they thought Caitlyn and Jude were dating each other, but I personally think Jude and Caitlyn would be a cute ship between each other. I think they just make a really cute connection with each other. I mean, they're both blondes. They're both like laid back, and they're both silly. I think Caitlyn and Jude ship is definitely probably one of my favorites. And then there's that one episode where they try to ship Caitlyn and Wyatt. It's where Wyatt and Caitlyn kiss each other. Where like Josie set them up. And I have to be honest, that was kind of weird. I mean, I can see, like, there might be cuteness between Caitlyn and Wyatt. I think in that same episode where, like, Josie asked Nikki out for the dance thing, I think, Caitlyn and Wyatt had their own subplots. And there was that scene, like, Caitlyn dressed up as a penguin. And like Wyatt was with her, so that was a cute moment for Wyatt being there for Caitlyn. And then there's other ships that aren't exclusive in 16. They're not canon yet. I mean, the shit between Jen and Wyatt can be interesting. Like, both of them are mature, and both of them have to deal with Jonesy and messing with them and things like that. So they kind of have to like share each other's traumas a bit. But I also think Wyatt and Jen wouldn't work because I think Jen is, she's kind of like a person who follows by the rules. She would be considered as too high maintenance for Wyatt, and Wyatt would be considered too deep for Jen. Like he's all too emotional for Jen. Although I will say I kind of like the ship between Wyatt and Nikki. I think they would work because like I think both Nikki and Wyatt have that maturity. And I think, there's something special between Wyatt and Nikki that I kind of like. It's kind of how I would, ship Chandler and Rachel from Friends. I think Nikki and Wyatt just get each other's wavelengths. I think Jude can go with anyone apart from Nikki. Like I mentioned, like Jude can go with Caitlyn. I think that's a cute pair. But I think Jude with other pairings would be cute. Like imagine Jude with Jen. I can see that happening. Like I can see it also like it not working out. But Jen is like the practical motherly kind of vibe. And I imagine like if Jen dated Jude, he's like the laid back the guy Jen kind of looks after. And I think, Jen and Jude do have their cute moments. I think though, like if Jen, goes out with Jude, she's gonna have same problems as she does with, her stepbrothers. Because I think like Jude is probably the grossest out of the friends. Like I think out of Jonesy and Jude, Jude is more gross. I think Jonesy is selective about his grossness, but Jude, he's kind of like doesn't take care of himself. I mean, he lost his ticket job because he like food poisoned everyone, and I wonder if like Jen wouldn't last that long with Jude because of this. I think Jude and Wyatt is also a cute couple that I can imagine. I think what with Wyatt and Jude, they're kind of like little brothers with each other. Like Wyatt's the serious brother, and like Jude is like the younger brother kind of archetype. Like Wyatt and Jude together are like bros. And then there's the relationship between Jude and Jonesy. That's also something that I would find interesting because Jude and Jonesy, I can see it happening. Like they had hinted like so many moments in the show where like Jude and Jonesy, being gay couple. I mean, they always, have, throw banter with each other in the mall. Like, they mess around with each other. But we have had moments where, like, Josie and Jude kiss each other. That was really fun to watch. And then there's that moment where, like, Josie tried to, make a pottery out of some clay. And, like, Jude wrapped his body around Josie while he was making it. And then this music was coming out. It's really funny. And then you have Josie and Wyatt. I can kind of see it happening. I think it will still be toxic as Josie and Jen. However, there are moments in like the shows where like they do hint like a gay relationship between Josie and Wyatt, and I kind of can see it. Also, they're both like the more darker skinned characters. Like Josie is Latino, and Wyatt is like African Caribbean type of character. Like if Josie was a better person, I can see Josie and Wyatt, being with each other. And then there's the relationship between the girls. I think Jen and Nikki can kind of work. They're kind of the alpha female of the group, and they known each other since like nursery or whatever. I guess they call it kindergarten in Canada. So like Jen and Nikki have had history with each other, and they kind of like have the same personality. Not that they have like same personality, but they had that like tough persona. Like you wouldn't mess with Jen and you wouldn't mess with Nikki. And I would say out of the group, Jen and Nikki are probably the angriest of the characters. And Jen and Caitlin, I can say yes. Yes, Jen and Caitlin are totally girlfriends, in my opinion. Like, Jen kind of is like the practical one for Caitlin. I think Caitlin is like the female Jude, and like Jen with Caitlin, she's like the motherly one for Caitlin, or like she's kind of like the dominant one of the pair. However, they're like the sisters. They will be shopping with each other. So Jen and Keelan, I think they would have each other's backs. And I think Jen would help Keelan stay grounded. And then you have the pairing between Nikki and Caitlin. I think it's a different scenario. They might have a rocky relationship because how different they are. However, I might like this relationship. It's an odd pairing, but I kind of like it. They kind of have that odd couple dynamic. They have like they're kind of opposite with each other. Like one of the characters a bit more bubbly and the other one is a bit more harsh and intense. So I can see like them being like endgame. And I think Kaylin and Nikki pairing is a bit like how people would ship like Tori and Jade. And I can see like if no one sees it coming, Kaylin and Nikki would probably be like the endgame of 16. I've also mentioned, Kaylin and Jonesy in the past, in my previous videos. I personally don't think these two characters will work. I've explained it in the Albatross Finch video. I just think Kaylin is a bit more superficial than Jonesy. And for Nikki and Jude, I just don't see it. I don't know if there's a connection between Wyatt or Jude. And Jen and Jonesy, no, never. I think Jonesy has put Jen through a lot, you know. I don't see like Jen ever being in a relationship with Jonesy. I know she had a crush about Jonesy in the past, but the amount of the amount of stuff that Jonesy put Jen through throughout the show, I at this point Jen wouldn't have any of it. So in that case, those are my thoughts on the ships of 16. And finally, I think I'm going to round off these questions with the bronze tier questions. So bronze tier questions are the last set of questions that are coming in. These are general questions that Twins Inc. has gotten, and I'm going to answer them for myself. And I also don't want to make this any longer. This is to wrap things up. That is exactly what the bronze tier questions are for. So question 19 is going to be YouTube related. So question 9 is how did I come up with Mystic Orange as my YouTube channel name? And I can answer that question for you. So my channel is called Mystic Orange, and there's a reason why it's called Mystic Orange. For one thing, I like the word mystic. I think it fits, me really well. It fits the channel really well. And I think, it fits well the fact that, this channel is about like, cartoons and whatever. I also think like it makes me think of Power Rangers, like Power Rangers Mystic Force, or like a Mystic Ranger. And also with the orange being part of my name, I just think like most YouTubers have a themed color. For example, Lauren Z's side, her main color is going to be purple. Whereas Dan TDM, his main color is going to be blue. And for me, my main color is going to be orange. So that's the reason why I called it orange. So therefore, my channel, that's the reason why it's called Mystic Orange. And then question 20 is, do you prefer fluffy tails or fluffy ears? And I can give you a straight answer, I prefer fluffy tails more. So question 21 asked me about what my favorite, top 3 favorite animated TV series are. And I think for this question, I want to just include Winx Club, Ruby 16, and Scooby Doo because I think that's pretty obvious. And I want to mention TV shows that I haven't mentioned yet. So, what would be my top 3 animated TV series? So, firstly, I think 64 Zoo Lane would be one of my favorite shows. It's a show for little kids, but this is a show that I grew up with. It's holds a place like a special place in my heart as a kid, and I think I love the drawings of the animals. I think my other favorite, favorite TV shows. My second one would be the 99. I recently reviewed that show and I did enjoy that. I like anything to do with superpowers, and I really enjoyed watching that show. It's really fun seeing like different characters with different action, with superpowers, and whatever. And then my third favorite would be 50-50 Heroes. It's another super powered show. It's where like the two characters have different unique powers. And I love the creativity in that show. And I like the mishap that happens when they aren't holding their hands and then, powers go out of whack. And I like the creative disasters that happens with the powers. So those would be my top 3 TV shows. So that being 64 Zoo Lane, The 99, and 50-50 Heroes. And then question 22 asks about what my top 3 favorite animated movies are. And I don't think I want to explain deeply about them. I just want to state them. And all of these are going to be a Disney animated movie. So number one is going to be 101 Dalmatian. Number two is going to be The Fox and the Hound. And number three is going to be Treasure Planet. So those are my top three favorite animated movies. So I guess that's like my last question for this video. And I guess it's time to wrap things up. I just want to say I want to give a big thanks to you guys for subscribing to this channel. And this channel wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for you guys. So I'm really grateful and appreciative about you guys supporting this channel. I do have my thoughts about what my next goals are. I think for my next goal, I want to reach 700 subscribers. But I also want to focus on like my community now, because now that I have 600 subscribers, I now have a new feature in my channel. It's called Visit Community. On this new feature, you can add your own posts to this setting or whatever, which I think will be fun for this community. I'm not the only channel that has this. I think other channels has this visit community thing. I've seen Lauren Z-Side have it, and also Maverick Baking has this. So yeah, why not head on over there and chat with other community members. And I guess that's a great way, for people to engage with each other. Also, remember to keep it PG-13. I don't want, anyone getting in trouble. And I also want to focus on like adding new things to my channel, like really focusing on the quality of my videos. Because, that's the direction I want to go in. I do want more people watching my videos. I think subscribers don't matter. It's the people who watch my videos. That's what matters. And I'm hoping that, people get to watch my videos and get to enjoy them. And, I get to grow along the way. And again, I want to thank every one of you guys for helping me for this channel and helping me reach 600 subscribers. And I guess that's it for this video. I don't want to, spend way too long for this video. I imagine it's way too long as it is. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Have a fantastic day.